I've got a gift to see in the spirit, but that's not the only kind of spiritual gifting that someone can have. Hi, my name's Dakota Lee. I'm also a professional animal communicator, and God's been letting me visit heaven since I was 12 years old. A lot of people come on my page and say, I've got a gift too, or my daughter has a gift, or my son just said this thing, and wanted to go over my view of spiritual giftings. It also lines up with some stuff in the Bible, and there are a bunch of different kinds of spiritual gifts. One is obviously the one that I have, which is a seer. And that term is more in the Old Testament. So a seer is someone who's a prophet, which for some reason I feel strange calling myself that, but it does, what I see in my visions and the purpose of my visions do fit in with that message of a seer, which is they get visions that then interpret will of God and what God means. Sometimes prophets see in the future. I get that sometimes. I think there are a lot of people in the world that have this ability to see. And the interesting thing about these gifts is that from what I understand, and this also says this in the Bible and in 1 Corinthians specifically, but people are given these gifts a lot of times from birth, but it is your choice on how you use it. So for me, I had this gift and we started to discover it when I was a little kid with my mom. But I also chose, as I was growing up, to keep investigating it, to keep inviting it to me and be open to God and what He has to say. And that's a beautiful experience I had. Not everybody has that opportunity, especially if their parents are ones that don't know what to do with it or tell the child, just shut that down in either subtle or non-subtle ways. Keep in mind, if there were experiences you had as a little kid and they either scared you or you got signals that they from your peers or family, they weren't okay, you might actually have these gifts. You've just said, no, thank you. And God always respects that. Here's some of these other giftings and how I see that play out in the people that I know in my life. So there's in 1 Corinthians 12, it says there's words of wisdom, word of knowledge, faith, healing, miraculous powers, prophecy, discernment, speaking in tongues, and interpretation of tongues. And I'll be honest, I don't know the intricacies of every single one of these, but there are a couple that I wanted to talk about. One that really sticks out to me is word of knowledge, because there are people that just like know things, like get like downloads of information either about future events, about people. A lot of these people that can kind of lead you. And again, I think people are given gifts from God, whether they are Christian or not, or how they use these gifts or not. And I've chosen to use all my gifts to glorify God, but technically, that's still a choice to me. And it's a choice to you, and it's a choice to anyone who has these gifts. So I have definitely seen that some people just get downloads of information and just know things. Next gift Paul talks about is healing. That's one I would like to be in line for. I'm always open to these gifts being opened up to me, or more of these gifts opened up to me, but being able to heal by laying on of hands or otherwise, I would really love to be able to do that. And I saw this as like one of Jesus's biggest gifts, the ones that brought his ministry the furthest. Miraculous powers, I think this is stuff like Jesus's water to wine, walking on water, like those things that aren't necessarily healing, but are definitely miracles, and they're signs that point to God. Prophecy, that I guess we've kind of covered. Discernment's a really cool one. So I think what Paul was saying is you can discern like true teaching of God versus not true teaching of God, but I think it also applies to having a spiritual sense of what's going on around you. So a lot of empathic people really have this too, because you can just like emotionally tell how the other person is doing. But even then it goes beyond that. If you can even if you can't see spiritually what's happening, you can sort of feel spiritually what might be happening. Is there an angel of God around me, or is it something not of God that I might need to not engage with? So that's one way that discernment can really, or two ways that discernment can really go about. Speaking in tongues, that's another gift I have. In the church that I was raised in, they kind of said everybody can speak in tongues. And so I believed it. And and so I was speaking in tongues from a very small age. I'm not going to do it on here because it's kind of personal to me. But it's something that's, when I experience it, it's very freeing because there are times when I'm just so frustrated, or my head is like so in a knot almost. I don't even know what to say or what to pray. And so speaking in tongues can help kind of alleviate that pressure. And then there's interpretation of tongues. So like in our own language, okay, that just means when someone spoke in tongues. Someone's gift, I think, works a little bit differently. Like they're similar themes, but they're a little bit different. Like, for example, other people have a gift to see in the spirit. And so we'll see similar things. I've got this gift to also go visit heaven. I've also heard of other people who have at times visited heaven, but I'm so far, I'm the only one that I know of that visits heaven this often, kind of like a nuance of my gift. So can talk to animals. And I think this probably fits into like word of knowledge, just knowing things, because it probably could fit into interpretation of tongues now that I think about it, because I am understanding someone else's tongue, someone else's language. That's another gift that I try to use to glorify God. But there are a lot of gifts out there, and there are nuances to everyone's gift. If you wanted to step into your own gift, especially in a way that glorifies God, then this page is definitely for you. I hope through sharing what I experience, you're encouraged to lean into your own gifts.